Well, I think that means it's go time. What's up, Montana? Welcome in. Nuanez now, ESPN Radio, as well as SWX Montana Television. First whirlwind weekend since football got over, and it was great to be back on the road, taking this show on the road, and now back in the seat here with you. Hope you had a great weekend. Got a ton of stuff to get to. That was the busiest sports weekend we've had. That was a non-football weekend in about 6 months, so it felt good to be rocking and rolling. Covered the Big Sky Conference Indoor Track and Field Championships in Bozeman on Friday and Saturday. Beat feet on I-90. Got here, drove into one of the most beautiful sunsets I've ever seen in Montana. Right over Rock Creek. Rolled in midway through the first quarter of the Montana State women's basketball game Saturday night in Missoula. Had an unbelievably fun time after the game, catching up and chopping it up with several different former Lady Grizz legends and just talking about all the things that have involved the University of Montana women's basketball program over the last many, many years. And then on Sunday, a little matinee between the men. And for all of the tumult and all of the things that have happened and all of the continuing races that exist within the Big Sky Conference and within the Treasure State in Division I athletics, it was cool to see an indoor championship hosted in Bozeman and see exactly how much investment in a sport like track and field can benefit your university and your athletic department. And it was also great to see the Grizz faithful back in ravenous and rabid form over the weekend. Best women's basketball crowd I've seen in Missoula in several years on Saturday evening in Missoula. And though the men's game had 5,285, which is about 1,500 short of what you're used to seeing. Still, great atmosphere in Missoula as well, and it continues to be really, really tough to win in Missoula. And now, because Montana sweeps Montana State this weekend in women's and men's basketball, respectively, the Grizz had home victories this calendar academic year in Missoula in football in November of 2020, and then this last weekend in basketball. So the more things change, the more they stay the same. There's been a lot of ups and downs at the University of Montana and the athletic department, but the fact is the Grizz still pretty tough to beat at home. They looked really tough to beat this last weekend. So we'll get into that. How do these two teams and how do these programs move forward and prove they can win away from the friendly confines of Dahlberg Arena, prove that they can win away from the friendly confines of Washington Grizz? So many different interview subjects to get to, so many different sound bites and pieces of feedback to share. We'll get things started off here like we do each Monday with the Montana football/basketball hour. We're talking exclusively, though, hoops today. All Cat Grizz, all the time. We'll hear sound from Travis DeCuire, the head coach from the University of Montana men's team. Victors 80-74 over the Bobcats. They dominated the game more than that for most of it, but then MSU, like the championship contenders that they are, made a run toward the end and cut it down, got it down to 4, and ended up losing by 6. But a good win for Travis DeCuire's squad. So we'll hear from Coach Travis, as well as Josh Bannon and Brandon Whitney, a pair of sophomores for the Grizz that helped lead the charge. We'll also hear from Danny Sprinkle, Montana State men's basketball coach. That'll be the first of 2 appearances by Sprinkle this week, as well as the first of 2 appearances by Coach DeCuire. I'm going to sit down with Coach DeCuire Wednesday morning, so very much look forward to that. We'll get to that in a minute. Both the profile that I am writing about him, as well as he will also be our Grizz Star of the Week, because he is now 14-2 against Montana State, and he continues to climb the all-time wins chart at the University of Montana, one of the richest men's basketball trees in the country. We'll hear from Danny Sprinkle, his first of 2 appearances as well. He did not mince words when it came to his scrutiny of the effort of his team yesterday in Missoula. The women, the Lady Grizz, looked as good as they've looked in the last 5 years. That was the best I've seen Montana look collectively and cumulatively in terms of confidence, mental fortitude, zest, charisma. They looked like a Lady Grizz team that was having a hell of a lot of fun, and a Lady Grizz team that was riding the momentum of Dahlberg Arena. And even though the home court advantage at Montana has not wavered much since Robin Selvig retired, the Lady Grizz have not always been able to harness it, and they've often had mental blocks in which they can't get over the hump. They can't seem to surge towards the end of games, but they did that on Saturday evening, and they beat Montana State 71-57, a huge win for the Lady Grizz in the scope of the rivalry because they'd lost 7 in a row to the Cats, and that seemed infeasible a handful of years ago when Selvig was still stocking the sidelines. But a big win for the Lady Grizz nonetheless. So we'll hear from Brian Holsinger, the first-year head coach for the Lady Grizz, as well as Sophia Stiles, the outstanding senior for the Lady Grizz. And we'll hear from Darian White, the point guard for the Montana State Bobcats as well, after her team had their winning streak snapped. Hour number 2, we're going to recap the Big Sky Conference Indoor Track and Field Championships with a couple pieces of sound. Elena Carter, who's a Helena native, she won the short hurdles in championship fashion, so congratulations to her. She's a Montana State runner right now, junior at MSU. Drake Schneider, another outstanding middle distance runner there at MSU, had a great day. He won in the 400, placed in the 200, and then won the winning leg on the 4x400. So we caught up with him. He's a guy that's been on the show a couple times as well. And then we also hear from Jaden Green, who's one of the outstanding sprinters from the University of Montana and the best finisher for the Grizz track team. So we'll do that in hour number 2 as part of our River City Runners. And the rivalry game between the Cats and the Grizz always takes center stage in the Big Sky Conference, but there's a ton of other stuff going on, a ton of other action around the league. So we'll also take you all the way around the league and give you an update on the conference tournament race, the conference title race, and what it's looking like with Boise on the horizon. Every team in the league has about between 3 and 2 games left, depending on which makeup games you got to have. But there's Big Sky Conference basketball games every single night now for, I believe, the next 11 nights. So that should be very, very fun to go through all of the games. And we'll be, of course, broadcasting to you live courtside from Idaho Central Arena in Boise from stem to stern for the Big Sky Conference men's and women's basketball tournaments. So that will be very, very fun as well. You want to check out the show, stream it, listen to it on your cell phone, your laptop, your tablet. You can always do that by visiting our station website, 1029ESPN.com. Click on Listen Live, and you'll find the stream. You want to be a part of the show? You got opinions or thoughts or questions about the Cat Grizz basketball games or the Big Sky Indoor Track and Field Championships or anything else that's burning in your sports consciousness? Call us, text us, 406-888-1029. That's 888-1029. And all guests will join us via the Rangish Brothers RV phone line. And, of course, we are broadcasting to you live from the Northwest Motorsport studio. You can visit Northwest Motorsport online by visiting nwmsrocks.com. So there you go. That's what we got in the show today. That's our show outlook presented by Brent Wahlberg and the Wahlberg team. Brent and his team, the official realtors of Grizz Athletics, but also veterans in the Missoula real estate industry. So any questions you might have, give Brent and his team a call today. We're going to get into the track and field stuff in the second hour. And we're going to get into the Montana State-Montana women's game in the second segment of the Montana Basketball Hour, but we dive into the Montana Basketball Hour, proudly presented by the Advocates, with the men's game. Have you been injured in an accident that wasn't your fault? The Advocates can help. Call 406-640-4444 today. Speak to an attorney at no cost, and always remember, you deserve an advocate. The men's game was one of the strangest games that I can remember. When you look at the box score, there was really no way to indicate specific reasons why Montana controlled the game from start to finish, except for just a couple areas. For example, if you lose the rebounding margin in a game by 13 rebounds, chances are you got your butt kicked. Montana didn't trail for the last 35 minutes of this game, yet they did get out-rebounded 36-23. That said, there wasn't a lot of shots missed to have rebounds provided. Both teams shot over 50%, but this was not some offensive shootout back and forth. In fact, it was Montana State making a bunch of free throws to stay in the game, sort of, and not really ever making a run until the end. And it was completely unlikely, but the fact of the matter and the straw that broke the camel's back, twofold. One, Montana State does not turn the ball over. They are the best team in the Big Sky Conference at taking care of the ball. That makes sense because they have a sixth-year point guard in Xavier Bishop and a sixth-year two-guard in Amin Adamu. Yet those guys, plus a couple of the role players for the Bobcats, had a really hard time taking care of the ball. 15 turnovers for MSU. That was the only other stat that really stood out, besides the fact that Montana made 11 three-pointers and Montana State made 1. That I did not see coming. The Grizz, for all of the things that they're known for doing well and all of the things that they're known for not doing well and the struggles that they had coming into this game, losing 5 of their last 7, losing to teams that are 9th, 10th, and 11th in the conference. No one could have predicted that Montana would make 11 threes. Brandon Whitney made 4 3-pointers all Big Sky Conference play leading up until Saturday. He hit a couple big ones on Sunday against the Bobcats. Josh Bannon hit a couple, including a bank shot to get him going in the first half that then sparked an 18-point first half that was capped by him hitting a shot at the first half buzzer. 7 of 9 in the first half for Bannon. 18 points on the way to a game high for the Grizzlies, that is. 23 points for the sophomore from Australia. Whitney got to the rim at will for about the first 10 minutes of the game. He was 4 of 4 to start out the game. He ended up with 17 points and was very good defensively. Xavier Bishop ended up with 27 points, the game high, with Whitney as his primary defender, but 14 of those points came in the last 2 minutes of the game as Montana State tried to rally furiously. But it was just such an interesting game because not only was it sort of unlikely that the Grizz would shoot that well, but also it was the first time for the trio that provides the foundation for the UM basketball team right now. That is Brandon Whitney, Josh Bannon, and Robbie Beasley. That was their first time playing in a home Cat Grizz game with a raucous crowd. And again, I know that they were far short of what they wanted in terms of total attendance, but the crowd was very good, and it had a very big effect on the game nonetheless. And MSU, who was searching for their first sweep of the Grizz since 2009 and looking to sew up at least a share of their first Big Sky title since 2002, instead, they lost, which was a rare occasion for a team that entered the game with a 13-3 Big Sky Conference record. And a lot of these guys on the Grizz, they never got to experience that sort of environment. So we'll talk about that element a little bit later on. We're going to hear from Travis Zakir, the head coach for the Grizz basketball team, here in just a minute. But we'll bring in our producer, Andrew Houghton, who was there covering this stuff for both us here at ESPN Missoula as well as SkylineSportsMT.com. We got a whole variety of content up there at SkylineSportsMT.com, whether it's the post-game press conferences for the men and the women's games from over the weekend. You also got your whole Twitter feed, so you can see all the results from the Big Sky Conference Track and Field Championships. We also got a feature that Andrew wrote about the Lady Grizz seniors sort of celebrating and sending themselves off in style, including Sophia Stiles and Abby Anderson, sort of the two spearheads other than Carmen Gfeller for that Lady Grizz win. And we also have some featurized stories on each of the actual contests, some of the scenes from Dahlberg Arena over the weekend. But Andrew, the number one talking point coming out of this game was all the fouls. For example, there was 8 offensive fouls called in the second half alone, including 6 offensive fouls called in the first 5 minutes of the second half. A lot of flopping and charges being taken and all this other stuff. But also, regardless of any of the anomalous nature of this game, this was a breakthrough win for Montana, one they actually absolutely had to have, because if you get swept by the Cats and you've lost 6 out of 8 going into your final home weekend, that ain't good for anybody if you're Montana.
Well, and especially if you start showing cracks at home, too, Coulter. This put them to 14-1 at Dahlberg Arena, but they lost just a week or two ago to Northern Arizona in overtime at Dahlberg, which is sort of a shocking loss. If you do that and then in quick succession you lose to your rival at home, suddenly that's the one thing that you can rely on, and you're starting to show cracks there, and how does that affect their confidence? So I agree with you, really big win, and it was nice the way that they got it. I mean, Josh Bannon's quickly showing that he's one of the most dependable players in the league. He had another great game. And all the guards played well. I mean, aside from Beasley and Brandon Whitney, Lionel Martin hit a couple big shots. Josh Vasquez came off the bench. Freddie Brown got off the bench. Kyle Owens got some good minutes. I thought it was good up and down the roster.
Let's hear from Travis Zakir, because he touches on that point. They were pretty explicit in the fact that, first of all, if you'd never seen Jabril Bello, as the old coaching saying would go, that's what they look like. He looks like a top Power 5 level player. He's just built different than anybody else. I mean, Josh Bannon is a nice looking athlete. He's a 6'9", 6'10" guy, long arms, wingspan. we were having a debate on press row how much more Bello weighed than each of the guys guarding him. Bello's listed at 240, but he's an enormous man. I mean, he has giant hands. He's incredibly muscular as well as being long and tall. And when he puts his mind to it, he's the most dominant force in the Big Sky Conference. Yet Montana, with Mac Anderson on the bench and Scott Blakeney in foul trouble literally 20 seconds into the game, they had to adjust some stuff. But Coach DeCuire talked about, hey, we got 4 guys and 20 fouls to use on this guy. Let's go ahead and do it. To his credit, Bello finished with 21 points and 16 rebounds, including making 9 of 11 from the free throw line, which is sometimes his Achilles heel. He's actually not a bad free throw shooter for how big he is, but it can be a place where you can pick up some points. So they basically played hack-a-shack, and it worked out for him. And Coach DeCuire talked about that. So let's hear from Travis DeCuire. He moved to 14-2 against Montana State in his 8 seasons at the helm, leading his alma mater.
Big win, big win. We I watched our game in Bozeman maybe, 4 or 5 times. And it was a hard one to swallow because I thought our game plan was on point. I thought we did a good job of executing the things we wanted to execute. We had some foul trouble, but that's kind of been our MO. But the biggest thing that was hard to swallow was we just didn't make shots. I thought we played that game well enough to win. It's a 4-point game, 2.5, 3 minutes to go. We got the shots we wanted. They just didn't go in, and that happens. It's part of the game. And we walk away, fairly emotional about that loss. But at the same time, it gives you confidence at home because we typically shoot better at home. And so we had a lot of confidence going into this one. But at the end of the day, we needed to minimize their threes and hold them 1 for 8. Only get 8 attempts is huge. And then we felt if we could force 15 turnovers, we get enough extra possessions that we could put enough points on the board to be a problem for them tonight, and we did both of those.
You guys came out so strong. So what do you think of the mentality of these guys and sort of the toughness they show for the duration of this game?
One, I think we have a tough group. I think we have a group that's about the right things. Guys show up early, win, lose, or draw. They show up early, they work. They allow our staff to coach. They want to be a part of success. So I think our frame of mind and the way we're built is about winning. And so I'm always going to be proud of them for their efforts and the way that we push forward through adversity. And I thought the last 2 days, these guys were focused. We had their attention. They knew, the Southern Utah game, we let that get away. And if we're just a little more focused through adversity, we could finish the game off, which is what happened today. And then it didn't hurt having a former MVP come in the locker room and give our guys a little bit of a push, a little bit of an attaboy in Kareem Jamar.
Brandon, when he was in here, just mentioned that he thought your guys' aggressiveness and energy was high, and theirs was the worst he thought he'd seen this year. So, did you notice that? I guess was everything you guys were kind of taking advantage, kind of right out of the gates? Did you notice that?
No, I didn't really notice it. You notice that maybe a couple guys aren't playing well. And their mojo isn't going, and I think sometimes the game dictates that. We've struggled with the same thing as we've had some games where maybe 2 or 3 guys that just don't really have their mojo, and some of it is because they're not making shots or their man that they're guarding is. Adversity does that to guys. These games are hard, and so I wouldn't say that these guys didn't show up. I just think that the way the game went, some guys, just never really got it going, and that happens. But those are probably the same guys that played very well against us last time. So that's kind of how it happens, and hopefully we see him again on a Saturday, and we get a chance to do this thing one more time.
Coach, there's a scuffle right in front of the bench, 2 minutes and 18 seconds left, and then there was a timeout, and it looked like Josh kind of got into everybody. So what'd you think of him sort of taking control of the huddle there and kind of reigniting you guys?
It's called refusing to lose, and we had some adversity. We turned the ball over. I thought some guys got hesitant. Didn't really want to make plays and maybe looking for someone else to do it. And, before I fired into the guys, he did it. And I think that when you hold yourself accountable, you can do that. And I think that those guys needed to hear from a teammate, no, we're not losing this game. Let's figure it out. Let's make it happen. Let's go. And I really didn't have a whole lot to say in the timeout after that. I just kind of let the guys go.
It's what Coach DeCuire has been preaching for, asking for, begging for at times. Travis DeCuire is going to get after you as hard as any coach in America. He is one of the hardest coaching guys. I'm talking about blunt, to the point, rip your face off if you don't do it right. He he's a dog. That's what kind of coach he is. He has had so many guys that respond to that. Because Montana has been riding and relying on freshmen last year and sophomores this year, they're still coming around to respond. You've seen Josh Bannon evolve as a player and improve a tremendous amount over the last year or so. And he has become a true all-conference caliber player, and he showed that again by scoring a team-high 23 points against Montana State in that 80-74 victory. But what Montana needs is for Bannon to continue to encompass that moment I talked about right there. Not letting his guys go, not letting the ship sink, not letting the scoring droughts and the meltdowns be a part of the narrative for the Grizz. So I thought that was the biggest turning point for this team, was Bannon rallying the troops. The Grizz having a 12-point lead in the second half, which they did not blow. I mean, it was like rinse and repeat that the Grizz would get an 8 to 12-point lead in the second half of games for the last 2 years, and then they wouldn't be able to close it out most of the time. Well, they did at home on Sunday, and they got themselves a rivalry victory. It's the Montana Basketball Hour presented by the Advocates. If you've been in an accident, you probably have a lot of questions. The Advocates have the answers. Call 406-640-4444 today and get the help you deserve. It's ESPN Radio as well as SWX Montana Television. The other thing about this Grizz team, and I know that coaches tend to talk up the league they play in and talk up the opponent they're about to play pretty prevalently. You always get a lot of attaboys and good kudos and all of that when you're interviewing a coach previewing his upcoming opponent. But I know that both Montana State, their head coaches, Travis DeCuire and Danny Sprinkle, who we'll hear from in just a minute, they have a lot, first of all, in common, but they also have a lot of respect for each other. And DeCuire, he's owned the Cats, but you can tell he has so much respect for Montana State. That said, Danny Sprinkle has told me he thinks that Montana is one of the most dangerous teams in the Big Sky Conference, and they looked like it in dispatching the number one team in the league just yesterday. So the Grizz are the most polarizing team in this conference to analyze. There's been times on this show where I am sitting here ranting and raving, talking about unacceptable losses like losing in overtime to Northern Arizona or getting blown out on the road against Idaho State the first time they'd lost to ISU in more than a decade. But then we're also sitting here talking about conference title contention and whipping Weber at home, blowing by Montana State at home. The Grizz own victories this season over Weber State, Montana State, Southern Utah. Those are the three top teams in the conference. They also swept Eastern Washington, who's biting at Montana's heels for that last seeded spot. And the Grizz got one more shot at Northern Colorado, a team they lost to by 3 back in December, with UNC coming to town. What does Travis DeCuire think of the dichotomy? The Grizz, little Jekyll and Hyde, 14-1 at home, 4-10 on the road, like Andrew Houghton mentioned. But better yet, when they play the best competition, they play their best. When they're playing the Portland States and Northern Arizonas and Idahos of the world, it doesn't look nearly as good. Why? We asked Coach DeCuire that following Sunday's victory over Montana State.
What does it say about the potential of this team and moving forward?
We told them before the game, we've outplayed pretty much everyone for 20 minutes at some point in time, where it's first 20, second 20. Let's put 40 together and see what happens. I just don't feel like when we play the way we're supposed to play and we stick to the plan and we stick together, that there's no one we can't beat if we do it for 40 minutes. And tonight was an example of that. But that's hard to do. It takes a level of maturity. And you're looking at two guys that are in their second year of basketball, and most of these teams are being led by guys that are in their sixth year of college. And so their maturity is going to be, they're going to be a little more confident in these situations because they've been in them a lot more. There's some guys that have played 150 games. These guys, they haven't even gotten to 60 yet.
The Montana Basketball Hour, Travis DeCuire, University of Montana, 8th-year head men's basketball coach, here on ESPN Radio. It's presented by the Advocates. Have you been injured in an accident that wasn't your fault? The Advocates can help. Call 406-640-4444 today and speak to an attorney at no cost. Remember, you deserve an advocate. Andrew, in sports, the narrative of teams that are really young or rebuilding or relying on guys that are freshmen and sophomores, it's a compelling one, particularly when those guys perform above their heads. And, we always talk, our favorite buzzwords are words like potential. But I also think that you can pump the narrative of potential and what the future might hold. Ironically, if you're really up and down and bad when you're young, as soon as you show flashes and or have any modicum of consistency of being good when you're young, then when you talk about being young, it becomes an excuse. Even if it's not an excuse, it's just a reality. As Travis DeCuire was just saying, I mean, Xavier Bishop was playing in like his 140-something game as a college basketball player on Saturday for Montana State. Ahmed Adamu, he's a sixth-year senior as well. Brandon Whitney, Robbie Beasley are just getting towards the end of their second years in college hoops, and the first year was a completely anomalous and weird grind. So what do you think of this dichotomy? Because, in fact, the fact that the Grizz have looked really good against really good teams in this league, it almost like flips the narrative, and then when Coach DeCuire gives you straight facts like he just did about how inexperienced his team still is and how they still are learning, you're like, well, yeah, but you guys are the Grizz. You guys should be better than this. What do you think? Do we not give Montana enough grace because of the name on the front of their jersey?
Well, I think when you look at it, Coulter, the inconsistency is exactly what you would expect from a young team. And I think that when you look at it that way, it makes a lot of sense. As far as, being too hard on them, I think sometimes people are. Because when you have, 5,000 plus people in there and you're beating the Cats, it's easy to think of really big things with this team. But I think that's one of the defining characteristics of a lot of young teams, of a lot of talented young teams. If you're a young team and you're not going anywhere, you're not going to be inconsistent. You're just going to be bad.
For sure.
If you're a young team that has talent, of course you're going to see some inconsistency. And, I think for this Grizz team, it's especially pronounced because not only do they not really have the experienced guys who are there, not even to dominate on the court or to take the reins, but just to sort of show people the ropes. They don't really have anybody like that even who's been in the program for years and years and years. I mean, Mac Anderson is.
Kind of, right.
Yeah.
Yes, but
they have no connection to those old teams, right?
For
Except
sure.
for Mac Anderson.
Right. Mac Anderson, Kyle Owens, Derek Carter Hollinger, and Josh Vasquez are the only guys on this entire roster that had ever even played in rivalry games against the Cats where people were in the stands.
Yeah. Yeah, so that shows through, and of course you're going to have some inconsistency there, and because, you've got young guys handling the ball, you've got young guys, running the offense, I think it makes a lot of sense for us, and it's just important to remember that.
I think we also maybe you just assume the guards that Travis DeCuire recruits are just going to be among the better guards in the league the day they step onto campus.
Right.
And these guys have already established themselves as like pretty good guards within the scope of the league. They're not quite as good as Michael Ogine was when he was a sophomore or Maud Rory was when he was a sophomore, but those guys are two of the greatest guards in the history of Grizz basketball, two of the better guards in the history of the Big Sky. So, again, the previous tradition sort of resets this expectation. And I think that they love the fact that the bar is so high, but also, you're just not getting another Michael Ogine anytime soon. He was a historically good player.
Right, but also it hurts that sort of continuation of the tradition that none of those guys played with Michael Ogine.
Right.
When you're playing on a team, how do you learn the culture and how do you learn the tradition? It's from playing with older guys and seeing what they do, how they handle themselves, how they play. A lot of the time, that's what it comes from.
And the pride, like is written on their locker room door and is written at the tunnel. The pride and tradition of the Montana Grizzlies will not be entrusted to the timid or the weak. You have to have an older guy to teach you that. When it's your 55-year-old coach who played here 20 years before you were born, it doesn't resonate as much as when Michael Ogine or Ahmad Rory is like, dude, here's how it goes. And that was what's so interesting is the Grizz had that pivotal all-time great senior a couple years ago, and then the cancellation of the tournament and Saeed Pridgett not being able to truly affirm himself in that conversation of Grizz greats, so to speak. The program's been spiraling ever since then because of a variety of reasons that were completely outside of their control, from the pandemic to this transfer stuff to the fact that they had 3 different dudes leave the team in the middle of the year last year.
Yeah.
To then the legal troubles of Nassim Gaskin, all of these things derailed them. And I actually think we should probably give them way more credit for getting this thing back on track, because now I think they are among, if not the scariest team in the Big Sky Conference heading to Boise if they can harness the momentum of what they did yesterday against Montana State.
They have one of the highest ceilings in the conference, certainly. That's what you're getting at. Yeah, it's just so weird with this team because when Travis DeCuire came in, I mean, there was this they just kept rolling people in, and now the last couple of years there's that gap between that team and sort of, I mean, and you would expect the class that's now juniors, I guess, that Kyle Owens, Josh Vasquez class, they were supposed to be the guys that carry it forward, and now there's that sort of gap there in that year, and now they're trying to build something completely new.
The answer to why those guys aren't more of a part of this is what I don't think we'll ever know the answer to. I do think there's some exterior stuff that has nothing to do with Travis DeCuire or Grizz basketball or those guys as individuals. I think that those guys lost their chance to have the sophomore slump that everybody talks about because they had to play their sophomore seasons in a year when everybody was in a slump because you're playing in empty arenas and playing the same opponent back-to-back years. So I don't know if we'll ever really know what happened with that class. But it's taken them a little while to get back on track, but here they are. They've gotten back on track. But now they just need to harness exactly what Travis DeCuire was just talking about. How do you bring your best when your best is needed at all times? Because if you only play your best against the best teams, you're going to get bounced before you get to that portion of the tournament to try to prove it against Weber State or Southern Utah or Montana State.
Yeah, but here's what's different, Coulter. It's the tournament. Like, you have to be able to bring it as soon as you get there, and I don't think that will be a problem. Because if you're only getting up for the big games, well, all of these games are big, right? I'm not so sure it's a matter of the level of competition, although that's part of it. It's just like, here's the hype around this game because you're playing good teams in the season. Well, when you come to the tournament, you already have that hype built in.
So Montana Basketball Hour, presented by the Advocates. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break, and on the other side, we're going to hear from Danny Sprinkle, Montana State head coach, and a couple subjects from the women's game in which Montana also beat Montana State. The Montana Basketball Hour is presented by the Advocates. Keep it right here, ESPN Radio.
Pepsi Cola of Missoula proudly supports youth athletics. Tune in to Nuanez now this Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. for the youth sports segment brought to you by Pepsi Cola of Missoula. Each week, Coulter will be talking about local youth sports from grade school to high school. Soccer, basketball, fencing, tennis, swimming, you name the youth sport, and he'll cover it. Tune in Tuesday at 4:30 to learn more. Sponsored by Pepsi Cola of Missoula. Pepsi Cola of Missoula proudly supports youth athletics.
Automated Living is a Missoula-based smart technology company. If you are looking for a new home theater, some quality hi-fi music on your deck or den, a screen and projector in your boardroom, one button to turn off all the lights, cameras to monitor your parking lot, or a security system to keep you and your family safe, Automated Living has a solution for you. We make our clients' lives easier and more enjoyable while giving peace of mind with streamlined control of all elements in the home or office. Contact us today for a free consultation.
Hey, it's Coulter Nuanez from Nuanez Now, here with Brent Wahlberg of the Wahlberg team at Windermere Real Estate. It's a complicated real estate market right now. What do you think is the biggest challenge?
This is a real tough market for buyers because what we have right now is an unprecedented lack of available options, low supply. You have to be extra competitive. You've got to make your first offer your strongest offer. Experts like myself in this market can really help people do that.
Call Brent Wahlberg and the Wahlberg team at 529-4663 today.
You hear the term small business all the time, but what does it mean? The answer is, it depends. Whether you're a one-woman show or employ over 100 people, at Farmer State Bank, your business is never small to us. Find the tools for success at any Farmer State Bank location or check us out online at farmersebank.com. Farmer State Bank, helping businesses succeed since 1907. Member FDIC.
When you look up in the rafters at Dahlberg Arena, you see dozens and dozens of championship banners. The Montana Grizz and Lady Grizz basketball teams have some of the best tradition of any mid-major programs in the United States. At Nuanez Now, your favorite daily sports talk show, we are proud to introduce our Grizz Star of the Week Hoops Edition. Tune in each Wednesday for an exclusive interview with men and women's basketball players from the University of Montana, and be sure to keep it tuned for your chance to win tickets to home games each and every week.
Before I came here, I always hated defense. I didn't play a lot of defense back home in Australia. But then, as I've kind of, the last couple of years, defense has become a lot more fun to me. I think the idea of five guys just being able to, you're just sort of imposing your will on the other team if you don't let them score, and you can just dominate a game that way. And I think it's just so frustrating for them, and seeing that frustration and being able to come together, a group of guys, and just doing that is super exciting and it's fun.
The Grizz Star of the Week is proudly presented by Bob Ward Sports and Outdoors. Tune in each Wednesday to hear the Grizz Star of the Week on Nuanez Now. Oh, baby, I've been really getting excited about the return of Dave Matthews Band to the Gorge. Really excited about Third Eye Blind coming to Missoula. But this one made me exponentially happy. We've been playing a lot of games at our house. We've been playing a lot of board games and card games. You know, just trying to stay sharp, trying to not watch the tube all the time. And we've been listening to some Tiny Desk concerts, and probably the most frequently listened to one this last couple months has been the Tedeschi Truck Band, which is what you're listening to right now. Susan Tedeschi and Derek Trucks. They've had a collaboration for quite some time. They played Missoula before, but they are returning to Missoula September 1st. And I'm very much excited for that. We will absolutely be going to that one. Can't wait for it. Can't wait for the return of concert season here in Missoula. Welcome back to Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, as well as SWX Montana Television. I'm Colter Nuanez, coming to you from the Northwest Motorsport Studio. Northwest Motorsport boasts the largest inventory of trucks anywhere in the Pacific Northwest. You can find amazing winter savings at Northwest Motorsport by visiting nwmsrocks.com. Get pre-approved, lined up for a test drive, even an appraisal for your trade-in, all online. That's nwmsrocks.com. The Montana Basketball Hour, presented by the Advocates, rolls on. The Grizz and Lady Grizz swept the Montana State Bobcats in rivalry basketball over the weekend. The ladies won 71-57 on Saturday night at Dahlberg Arena, and then the men took down the first place Bobcats 80-74 at Dahlberg yesterday afternoon. Danny Sprinkle's squad has been one of the stories of the Big Sky Conference this year, period. Not just in hoops, but in any sport. Montana State has never really chased basketball titles, at least not in my 16 years covering the Big Sky. It's been 20 years since they won a regular season title. It's been 26 seasons and counting since they've gone to the NCAA tournament. But this year, a 21-6 start, tied for the best in school history. 13 league wins already, the most ever by an MSU squad. Yet they were not able to sweep the Grizz for the first time since 2009 after losing on Sunday. That said, a lot still out in front of Danny Sprinkle's squad. They host Southern Utah tomorrow night with the opportunity to at least sew up a share of the conference championship. Coach Sprinkle did not mince words following his team's rivalry loss. Here's Danny Sprinkle from yesterday afternoon.
They came out with an energy and a purpose today that we didn't, for whatever reason. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing, the purpose that we came out with. We were on our heels from the jump. They were driving us, they were attacking us, and we were like flat-footed, stuck in sand. That's probably the worst defensively we played. They hit 11 threes, but they're capable of doing that. They don't always shoot a bunch of threes because they're attacking downhill, but those guys are capable shooters, and obviously they showed it today. Even the 17 they missed were wide open three. They were wide open. It wasn't like we gave them resistance. They just missed shots, which, we got to get a lot better at, by Tuesday. We got 48 hours. We got Southern Utah at our place, and we got to up the ante from a toughness stance purpose. And, we got to get better.
It seemed like throughout the game you kept trying to challenge them. They had a hard time responding. So, why was this your worst defensive performance of the season?
Because of them, their quickness, and they attacked us. They were getting wherever they wanted with the dribble, and we lost vision of our guys a couple times, and I thought Bannon was terrific, especially early. Yeah. He was actually terrific all game. Even when we cut it to 4, he hit a big time shot, and the other one, Whitney. Whitney kicked our butts all game too, just getting the ball to the rim whenever he wanted, and for them to shoot like that, and to have Beasley go 1 for 5, it shows what they're capable of. But I'm disappointed in our effort, but I do have to give them, I have to give them credit because they made us play that way, with their aggressiveness.
Bannon had it cooking in the first half. Anything you guys adjusted in the second half?
Not really. He was making. He's hard to guard because he's 6'10", 6'11", and he's really skilled. And I think his first 3 that got him going, he banked it. And then Whitney, who I think had only made 4 threes in conference, makes a 3 early, and that kind of jump started him. And the end of the half was inexcusable for us. From a discipline standpoint. We talk about getting back in transition on defense. I think there was 9 seconds left, and we have 2 guys on the ball fouling. We give up 2 free throws, then we get an illegal screen, and they hit the big 3 at the end of the half. instead of a 6-point game, it goes to 11.
Your perspective too on that second half comeback, just what were you kind of seeing and what was working for you guys as, Xavier was driving and getting easy layups, like what was working that got you guys back into the game late?
Yeah, we finally got some stops. They missed some open threes, and we got some runouts. Not even runouts, but we had started attacking the paint and getting the ball to the rim. X did, and Jabril got some layups. Even great. We posted him a couple times, and he had some nice post moves. And I think one of you guys just mentioned the key moments. We cut it to 4, and we had a steal, and Kellen Tynes had it. Like he had it, and he just lost it really quick. Where if he could have got it and got to the rim, and all of a sudden it's a 2-point game, it's a whole different thing. But I tell these guys all the time, the basketball gods reward you for what you've done, and Montana deserved it today. As hard as it is to say that, they deserved it, and that's why things like that happen. That's why those bounces go their way. It's because they worked hard enough, and their purpose was in the right place today.
You had a moment there at the end of the game with Coach Takir. You don't have to share it, you don't want to, but a lot of respect, it seems like, between both the head coaches in this game.
Yeah, tremendous amount of respect, for him. And, he told me we've had a great season, and the respect he has for us and our program and the way we do things and act. And, it's reciprocated. There's obviously a reason he's had success, not only here at Cal, at Old Dominion when he's a player. He does things the right way, and his kids play the right way, and they play a tough style of basketball.
There's still regular season and tournament games left to play, so how do you not let this one, trickle into the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, we got to learn from it. As emotional as this game is, Tuesday's game is the most important game. If we win that game, we at least have a share of the championship. And so we got 3 straight games at home. Hopefully the crowd comes out, and hopefully we play with, the energy and purpose that we need to in order to get a championship. Thanks, guys. You got it. Thank you, guys. You bet. Appreciate you. Thanks, man.
We'll see you Tuesday. All right, I guess talk to you Tuesday.
There you go, Danny Sprinkle. From post-game after his team's 80-74 loss. Catching up with Coach Sprinkle on Wednesday. His team plays Southern Utah tomorrow, so usually we talk Tuesday. We'll catch up with him Wednesday. We'll play that sound for you here on Nuanez Now. It's the Montana Basketball Hour presented by the Advocates. The Lady Grizz beat the Montana State Bobcats 77 of the first 101 times the two teams played. Since then, Montana State had won 12 out of 14, including winning 7 in a row in the rivalry overall and winning 4 out of the last 5 times at Dahlberg Arena. In Brian Holsinger's first year, the Lady Grizz put that streak to a stop. Montana rolled to a 71-57 victory in the women's version of the rivalry game. Here's Coach Holsinger following his first Cat Grizz victory.
I'm really proud of the upperclassmen. These guys have been through so much. They've been through a lot of hard things, different coaches, different things, and they've really bought in. It's one of the biggest things is when you have a new coach is you want the buy-in. You want the buy-in to what you want to do, and I've been preaching defense all the time, rebound, because I know that wins. And so, we've gotten better and better on that end of the floor, and we made it really hard for them to score tonight. I think that was the biggest thing. We didn't actually shoot the ball particularly well from 3. I thought if we could have hit a few more, we would have really spaced it in the first half especially. But I'm just, for the seniors, to flip the script a little bit and get a win against that team is a big-time deal.
As far as just looking at the game as a whole, Brian, it's hard to evaluate on the spot. Did it feel like that was one of the more complete performances of this season from this team?
Yeah, on the defensive end for sure, the defensive game plan. I think we won the glass tonight, and that was a really big thing. And then we're a team that's a scout-based team, and so we're going to force people to do things that hopefully they're not comfortable doing as much as physically possible. And we've gotten better and better at that. In the first game we gave some stuff in transition where we weren't locked in, so we changed up a few things there. And then these guys, Carmen in particular, did a great job of getting out on those shooters. Those posts can shoot it, and so we didn't want to give them anything easy, and so we limited their touches. We made them
Brian, they switch so much defensively. How are you guys able to take advantage?
Yeah, it's a good question. Anytime somebody switches, we like to run on balls, and she's a great decision maker. She's getting better and better. They take that away by switching. That's what they do. They take it away. And so now you have mismatches. And anytime you have a mismatch, it can be on the perimeter or it can be in the post. And so anytime you switch, I just tell our post, roll as deep as possible. And even if we miss, you have a mismatch. So that's an opportunity to get an offensive rebound. And then, her against a post is an advantage. And so we just really worked on being aggressive. We were a bit passive in the first game. I found out real fast that didn't work. We all did. And so we were way more aggressive tonight. And then anytime you switch, you just try to take advantage of mismatches all the time. Slips here and there, we got a few slips here and there. And they went zone, and we executed pretty good against the zone, too. Got a screen and found somebody in the corner. So we executed when we needed to with what they're doing. But it's tricky because you don't see switching all the time. Idaho State and them do it a lot. And so maybe they're onto something.
So defensively, though, did you guys adjust anything from what you normally do, or was this a matter of blocking?
Yeah, just do it, game plan. Just making sure that we do it more. You know what I mean? Like if you have 100 possessions and you do it 99 right, you're going to be pretty good. If you do it 85 right, it's not as good. So we just execute better on the defensive end, the game plan. And they know the game plan. I told them today in shoot around, I said, they've come a long ways. How I run the defense takes your mind. It's not just your body. It takes your mind, and you have to think. And so that takes time to get better at. And so we've continually to improve all season in that. And we're playing.
And sort of chasing, because you're going to have a big matchup with Sac State coming up. It's going to have an impact on seeding in the tournament.
Yes, it will. We're going to enjoy this tonight, and then we'll have the day off tomorrow, and then we will get back to work because, like I said earlier in the radio, you don't win the conference tournament at home. You just don't. You don't win it. You go on the road and you win it in a place that's neutral. And so neutral's been good to us this season, but we need to go prove to ourselves as a team and as a program that we can play the right way on the road in consecutive days. And so we're moving in that direction, but we have a lot to prove still. And I know they're not satisfied. We have a lot to go. This is just one of those things you check mark and you're proud of it and you're happy, but we have a lot to play for still.
Brian, 4,000 people and they don't want to go home. What does this tell you? What the win means to just more than just you guys, but I guess to the Lady Grizz fans?
When I took this job, this was one of the reasons that I wanted to be here. And this is unique. This is not everywhere. I said on the radio earlier, this environment is special. The people know when to boo. And I help them out sometimes. But they know when to boo. They know they're intelligent. They're smart. They're so fun to coach. I mean, this is so unique. I mean, that's why I tell recruits, I'm like, there's so many places that don't have this. And this crowd tonight, I mean, they carried us through so many moments that it's like, we got this for these people. The Lady Grizz fans are just something different. I played here in a WNIT game many years ago, and I came away like, okay, that was an experience, when I was at Washington State, and they don't disappoint. I keep telling them on the radio, I'm like, keep coming, we get a chance. Maybe we get a chance to play in a game here, I don't know, in the postseason, I don't know, but this team's special, this program is special. We want to get this thing back to what it once was when Robin Selvig was at the helm.
There you go. Brian Holsinger following his first rivalry game victory. Lady Grizz 71, Montana State 57 on Saturday afternoon. Excuse me. I can't get these things straight. It was Sunday afternoon for the guys, Saturday evening for the girls. I'm just in my muscle memory because it's usually the women on Saturday afternoons and the men on Saturday nights. But as everything with this time of year, no idea what the schedule is anymore. Can't wait till Boise when I have the bracket printed out in front of me and they can't cancel, or at least cross my fingers, that they can't postpone or cancel any of the games. But it'll be a lot easier to keep track of all of it. Probably the best moment of the weekend, just from a story perspective. People always ask us as journalists, as commentators, who do we root for? We just root for stories. And there was a lot of great storylines coming into this game, no matter what the result was going to be in the women's side of this rivalry. But one of the great stories was the fact that the Lady Grizz have 5 seniors who were celebrating their senior nights, playing their last guaranteed games at Dahlberg Arena. Sophia Stiles, Abby Anderson, Kylie Froelich, and Nia Morris Nelson could all come back next year, but that's to be determined. So this was their last for sure game at Dahlberg Arena, and they went out in style. And I thought it was great to see Sophia Stiles. I thought played her most steady game of the year that I've been able to watch. Carmen Gfeller shot the absolute lights out. So let's hear from Sophia Stiles, a Malta-Montana native, former Montana Gatorade Player of the Year, about going out on top in her last home game in Missoula.
Yeah, I mean, it's been amazing. I've been here for 5 years and we never got a win, so to do it on senior night made it a little more special, but it was awesome.
At the end there, was it just
Definitely took it pretty serious, but Coach Harris was definitely on me about relaxing my emotions. He said, it's just another game, Sophia, which it's nice to say, but it doesn't feel like that. But yeah, during the whole game, I was kind of with Carmen. I just wanted to get it. We've had a lot of close games, so I was waiting for the final buzzer.
There was a moment where Cole bad barricade, she like the pick and pop, she shot it and blocked it, and I don't know if it was you or not. Maybe it was you or Kendall, or it was Carmen. Okay, either way though, two were in the open court.
It was awesome.
They were kind of hanging at that point, but then the arena kind of erupted. I think that was a momentum shift.
Oh, for sure. That was maybe my favorite play, maybe next to Carmen's step back three, but that was definitely a momentum shift, and Dahlberg exploded.
I want to ask about the end of the game. I mean, we know about the history with the Cats for you guys, but when the crowd is going crazy at the end and you guys are sort of hugging each other, was that a moment that you thought about sort of in the years past?
Yeah, and I actually really thought about it tonight, about how cool it would be to just be doing this with my teammates, but I mean, it's a moment that I won't ever forget. Dahlberg's been amazing to me, and that's a really special moment.
You mean before the game you were thinking?
Yeah. I was thinking about watering Brian.
34 points. So biggest crowd here in a while. I mean, you were on fire. I know you're humble, but what did it feel like for you out there shooting the ball?
I mean, yeah, like I said. Say it.
That got cut off, so we're going to roll right into Carmen Gfeller. She shot the absolute lights out, 5 of 7 from 3, 11 of 16 from the floor, a career high 34 points for the junior from Colfax, Washington. Carmen Gfeller on her performance and her senior teammates.
You know, the fourth quarter, we've had a lot of close games, and so I just really wanted to see this one out. I'm really happy for our team to pull away like that and stay together, stay confident in ourselves and what we've accomplished so far, and we're just going to keep it rolling, and I'm excited for us going forward, and yeah. I mean, it all starts with our point guard.
No, it does not.
It does. I mean, when Sophie drives and she's aggressive, they have to come at her, and I was able to step out, and then when our shooters started hitting shots, I was able to get looks inside, and Abby's one of the best passers on our team, so it's a great setup for us there.
And towards the end of the first half, probably the highlight of the game was Ryan gets you on the open pass, you pump fake, and then get the open three and hold the follow through. What was going through your mind at that moment?
I was just excited. I mean, that's a little out of character, I would say, but I was excited about it. And yeah, it's okay to, I think it's okay to have a little emotion.
So,
it was awesome.
So it's funny, the fact that you guys have 5 seniors, how important was it for the rest of you to play, for them to kind of set them out?
Yeah, I love these guys. We've been through so much. And I say we because I feel like I should be right there with them. But
Thank goodness she's not.
I know.
I'm so proud to call them teammates, but even more so to call them friends. They're phenomenal people. They're going to be phenomenal, whatever career path they choose, wives, mothers. I'm just so happy that I've gotten the experience to play with them. Every single one of them brings something different to our team, and without their leadership, I don't know that we would be the team that we are. So I'm just really thankful that I've had this experience.
So you go, Carmen Gfeller, following a 34-point performance to lead Montana to a 71-57 victory over Montana State, snapping a 7-game losing streak for the Lady Grizz to the Montana State Bobcats. We're up against it, so we'll circle back around to some of the Montana State feedback from that women's game. But the Montana Athletic Department took care of business against the Bobcats at home in football, men's basketball, and women's basketball. Is the mystique of Missoula back? We'll finish the Montana Basketball Hour right after this. Keep it right here, ESPN Radio.
Save time, reduce labor, and increase productivity with the new Boss Snow Raider. It's a maneuverable and multitasking solution for winter walkways. See what the patented Boss Snow Raider has to offer at your local Boss dealer. Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer Equipment, 5680 Expressway in Missoula.
Spring is around the corner, and your backyard probably looks like a minefield. You don't want to go out there and pick up a winter's worth of mess. Montana Pooper Scoopers can help, and it's more affordable than you think. Visit MontanaPooperscoopers.com for more information. You don't want to spend the weekends cleaning up dog poop. Weekends are for golf and washing sports, am I right? For information on a one-time cleanup or scheduled cleanups by visiting MontanaPooperscoopers.com.
Have you ever heard the blues blended with classical music? Well, you're in for a treat if you attend the Missoula Symphony's next concert, March 5th and 6th at the Denison Theater. The Missoula Symphony invites you to join us for Our American Voices, featuring William Grant Still's Afro-American Symphony, Samuel Barber's lush violin concerto, performed by our fantastic guest artist, Yisong Sophie Lee, and Strum by living composer Jesse Montgomery. Don't miss Missoula Symphony perform Our American Voices. Visit MissoulaSymphony.org.
Brought to you by The Good Food Store. Worried that your furnace might not make it through a tough winter? Don't get caught out in the cold this winter. For a limited time, buy one, get one at Garden City Plumbing and Heating. With 2 amazing offers available, you could receive a free furnace or a free whole home air purification system. These offers are available through the month of February, so take advantage of this promotion before it's too late. To learn more, call a Garden City Comfort consultant at 728-5550.
Like most backseat drivers, I'm all about safety. Dad, pothole.
Got it.
So Les Schwab Tires makes my job easy. With surfaces like brakes, steering, and alignment. Those cheap tire centers just throw on tires, and that's it. Now, I'm not telling people how to do their job. Linker. I'm just glad Les Schwab takes safety as seriously as me.
Help keep drivers and backseat drivers safe with Les Schwab Tires. Celebrating 70 years of doing the right thing.
It's in Park, right?
The world of real estate is always evolving. That's more true now than ever. If you are a longtime Missoulian that is looking to upgrade or downsize, it might be the best time yet to sell. If you're in the position to buy something new, today might be the best time to buy. And no matter what questions you have when it comes to residential or commercial real estate, Mike Nugent and the professionals at Berkshire Hathaway in Missoula have your answers. To find out what Mike can do for you, give him a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
This is Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
What up, Montana? Welcome back. A little Third Eye Blind for you here on a Monday. Hope you're having a great start to your week. Can't wait to kick it with Third Eye Blind. June 24th, Kettle House Amphitheater here in Missoula. Should be a really fun one. Very much looking forward to that and just the return of concert season in general. Rolling through the Montana Basketball Hour here on Nuanez Now. Rivalry weekend in Missoula. The women played on Saturday night. The men played on Sunday afternoon. The Grizzlies swept the affair. And now we're into the final week of the regular season. We'll talk around the Big Sky in women's basketball on Thursday. We'll also talk around the Big Sky in men's basketball about 5:30 in this show. The University of Montana Athletic Department has experienced an unbelievable amount of volatility since I was in college. I graduated in 2009, and there's been all sorts of different things, from NCAA sanctions to a sexual assault scandal to a book by John Krakauer to hirings and firings in unceremonious and oftentimes poorly executed manners, to probably the most striking to me, the profound fall from grace for the Lady Grizz basketball team, which was the dominant team in the Big Sky Conference in any sport besides probably Northern Arizona men's cross country over the last 30 years. Lady Grizz have only won one postseason game since Robin Selvig retired. They had only beat the rival Bobcats one time since Robin Selvig retired. They broke through in a big way on Saturday against Montana State, and now the Lady Grizz are right there. They are knocking on the door of getting one of those first-round buys in Boise, and if they can harness the momentum and the performance of what they played like on Saturday night, they might be able to make a run in the tournament. Tricia Binford, Montana State women's basketball coach, had her team on a 7-game winning streak against the rival, and they had won 12 out of the last 14. She had really flipped and turned the rivalry on its head. Coach Binford, though, she pointed to one specific factor as to why the Lady Grizz were able to roll like they did on Saturday.
I think the bigger element today was the crowd. I thought the crowd was fantastic. It just gets loud in every moment, right? So for us, we just need to be able to kind of just continue playing our game. I thought we were a little bit reactive today. We had a pretty tough preseason schedule with some road games with crowd noise, trying to prepare you for those moments. But you just need to get more of that experience to have the composure and the steadiness of just kind of playing our game. And I just felt like we never got to playing our game today.
Trish, with 5 seniors, how challenging is that to be a team prepared? Because you knew this place was going to be rocked, right? And you knew those seniors were probably going to bring their best effort in this rivalry game since they haven't beat you before.
Senior nights are emotional, and credit the seniors. They played really well today. And G. Feller had, like you guys said, she had a great game. And sometimes somebody gets going and it's hard to shut them down. We certainly did not find a way to get her to stop her today. But at the same time, there's two games left and there's a Big Sky tournament. So we'll respond. It's what you're supposed to do. But Montana played a great game today.
And for the men Grizz, their leading trio are all sophomores. Josh Bannon, Brandon Whitney, Robbie Beasley. None of those 3 guys had ever played in a rivalry game in Missoula until yesterday. Let's just say they were pleasantly surprised. First, Josh Bannon, after his 23-point performance to lead Montana to an 80-74 victory over Montana State.
Yeah, that was sick. That was probably one of my best basketball experiences of my life. Definitely. That's the most fans I've ever played in front of. The students were awesome. Love to see the students getting out to games. It'd be great. They continue to do so. But yeah, that like, you can't really talk to that, when the other team goes on a run and then we make one play, the home crowd just erupts, and that sort of swings the momentum, even if the momentum might not be in our favor. Just having the home crowd, I think it's huge, and that really helped us tonight.
Josh, big win. How do you harness the momentum now down the stretch here and then into the tournament?
Ball hog. Yeah, we got 2 more big opportunities this weekend. Sac State, Northern Colorado, at home. Winning at home is something we've prided ourselves on all year. We've got to continue to do that going into these games. So really just lock in this week through practice, get ready for those 2, and build some positive momentum going into Boise, because that's really what it's all about.
Montana Basketball Hour here on Nuanez Now. Travis DeCure, his ball hog comments because he was hoarding the mics. We were doing this thing in the beer garden. Don't get me started as to why or how that even happened or why we're doing post-game press conferences in the East Auxiliary Gym. That's a discussion for a different time. There was no XLR box, so the TV guys had to have them pass the mics down the row. Either way, let's hear from Brandon Whitney. He had 17 points against Montana State, and he had a similar reaction to Josh Bannon about his first Cat Grizz game in Missoula with fans in the house.
This might have been the biggest game of my life, to be honest, too. Since last year, we weren't able to play them. But this year, we're having the fans, and just having that atmosphere is crazy.
So there you go. Some reactions and commentary about the rivalry games between Montana and Montana State. The Grizz sweep the Bobcats this year in Missoula. So sort of a return to the traditional way that this rivalry went for a very long time when it came to the battle on the hardwood. The Montana Basketball Hour in the books. Hour 2 coming at you. We're going to talk some Big Sky Conference Indoor Track and Field Championships, and also look around the Big Sky Conference as the final week of regular season basketball commences. The Montana Basketball Hour is brought to you by the Advocates. The Advocates can help you if you've been injured in an automobile accident, a motorcycle accident, or even bitten by a dog. For additional information on other types of cases the Advocates handle, visit MontanaAdvocates.com. You can chat with an experienced attorney with no upfront out-of-pocket expenses. Visit online or call 640-4444. And remember, you deserve an advocate. Nuanez Now coming at you. Hour number 2. Keep it right here. ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275ES Missoula. Part of
of the glory of building a business comes from leaving a legacy to ensure your business continues thriving into the future. Have you asked yourself lately, what is your plan? Forming a personalized business succession plan is essential to know the passion you put into your business will carry on. Nick Tabor at Westpac Wealth is here to help you navigate all your business succession and retirement planning needs. Give Nick a call at 728-6699 and keep the spirit of possibility vibrant while making your future more tax efficient with a personalized business succession and retirement plan for you. Don't let your head spin when you're thinking of finding the perfect gun store for you. Keep it simple. You want the best inventory, the best prices, and the best service. With local flair to top it off, look no further than Selway Armory. Selway Armory is your local firearms experts and always keeps your best interest in mind. The big box stores and chains will make your head spin, but Selway Armory will make you feel right at home in Montana. It's a gun store by Montanans for Montanans, 2825 Stockyard Road, Unit E6, or visit SelwayArmory.com today.
Hey Missoula, Bone here to remind you that amazing winter savings are at Northwest Motorsport. Visit NWMSRocks.com for the largest selection of lifted trucks, diesel trucks, and adventure-ready SUVs. Get pre-approved, line up a test drive, and even get an appraisal for your trade-in, all online. Don't let the rain, sleet, or snow slow you down. Take back control of the road with an NWMS rig and make your own winter adventure at Northwest Motorsport. And don't forget to tell them Bone sent ya.
Jake Dubeck knows people, and because of his gift of getting to know anyone he crosses paths with, Jake Dubeck understands what makes Montana so great. The Montanans. Whether you're looking to buy or sell real estate in the Helena area, Jake Dubeck should be your first call. Any questions you might have, from the accelerating Montana real estate market to knowledge of the neighborhoods in and around the capital city, if you're in the Helena area, call Jake Dubeck at 406-465-5506. Jake, proud supporter of the Montana State Minute with Danny Sprinkle.
Now, the Montana Club's happy hour features BOGO beverages. Our expertly mixed cocktails, microbrews, domestics, and wine are buy one, get one free 7 days a week from 3 to 5:30. Stop in on Friday for Montini night. Sip on a top shelf martini for only $6, 5:30 to close. When you've worked hard all day and are ready to relax, the Montana Club has got you covered with BOGO happy hour 7 days a week, 3 to 5:30 on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
There is still plenty of winter left to enjoy, and Bob Ward's has the gear to help you make the most of it. Right now, you can get screaming deals during Bob Ward's midwinter clearance sale. Find great deals on winter season gear store-wide. Outfit the family for a day on the snow without hurting your wallet at Bob Ward's. Get a new ski package for less. Find outerwear at super low prices, and take a hike with the best prices on winter boots. Bob Ward's midwinter clearance sale is on now. Bob Ward's, sports and outdoors, Montana style since 1917.
Getting undercover jack, those that don't watch they back. I daydream about the world. Take a watch the smoke swirl. Then these other thugs don't run out of breath. Every step could be death to you and be the last left. Then I'll be cold. Don't cry, just ask why. And try not to die as I take you through a ghetto lullaby. Don't cry, just ask why. And try not to die as I take you through a ghetto.
Friday night, I was in Bozeman following the Big Sky Conference indoor track and field championships, and sitting at a establishment there, enjoying a beverage. This song was on. I couldn't believe that there was. First of all, I was at the bar on the Montana State campus, which is at this point I think run by a bunch of college kids because there was no seeming adults working anywhere, which is great. That's what you expect from a college bar. But I just couldn't believe that they were playing this song, which is like 30 years old, and a very deep cut when it comes to a little Tupac. So keep it real over there in Bozeman. Gotta love it. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, as well as SWX Montana Television. Colter Nuanez coming to you from the Northwest Motorsport studio. Northwest Motorsport, new to Missoula, new to Montana. You can find them here in the Garden City at the corner of Stevens and Mount, or you can check out the largest inventory of trucks and off-road capable vehicles anywhere in the Pacific Northwest by visiting nwmsrocks.com. That's nwmsrocks.com. Missed anything in the first hour? We did the Montana Basketball Hour. All sorts of different contributors. Myself and Andrew Houghton talked our way around the rivalry games between Montana and Montana State. The Grizz sweep the Bobcats in basketball this year in the Missoula version of the rivalry. after the Cats swept Montana in Bozeman last month. We also heard from Travis DeCure, Josh Bannon and Brandon Whitney from Grizz Men's Hoops, Danny Sprinkle from Montana State Men's Hoops, Trisha Binford from MSU Women's Hoops, and Sophia Stiles, Carmen Gfeller, and Brian Holsinger from the Lady Grizz. You can find all of that on the Nuanez Now podcast, which is proudly presented by Sportsbet Montana and the Advocates. You want to be involved in the show? You want to rap with me? You got something to say? You got a question, comment, concern, feedback, whatever? Call us or text us, 406-888-1029. That's 888-1029. And all guests, of course, will join us via the Rangish Brothers RV phone line. We're going to dive into our River City Runners, recapping the Big Sky Indoor Track Championships in just a little while. But first, I want to recap something from last week just so it doesn't get stuck in the mud, doesn't get washed over. The last 10 days are among my favorite 10 days in Missoula. The Big Sky Documentary Film Festival comes to town mid-February each year. This was the 19th rendition of said festival. We, I think, hosted 7 or 8 interviews here at ESPN Missoula as part of the podcast series that we produce here at Missoula Broadcasting Company in association with the Doc Fest. I know Robert Chase and Mike Smith from The Trail also did some interviews. You can find all of those on the Big Sky Documentary Film Festival podcast feed, which is available on any of your podcast feeds. I was also able to view a few of these films, one in theaters and then a couple on the stream, and always educational. And I'm going to continue to watch these films as I can, and then when they're re-released, likely going to make sure to get a hold of some of these as well to not only watch myself but share with some of my friends. Andrew Houghton, our producer here, he conducted a couple interviews himself. He also was volunteering down there at the Big Sky Doc Fest. I know this is something you really like a lot too, man, because you have a deep connection to film with some of your mom's work in that world, but also having your previous stint in Missoula, volunteered with it a lot. Was there any highlights for you, anything that really stood out, anything that really resonated with you that you're still thinking about today now that the Doc Fest is over?
Well, I think all of them, Coulter, and that's the point of the documentary festival. You know, it's just to broaden your mind a little bit and get you thinking about stuff. I mean, that first weekend, I was doing a volunteer shift. I was actually running the projection at the Wilma, so I was just sitting there watching a couple films, and probably not ones that I would have picked out or circled on my program, but when you got nothing to do but just sit there and catch the double feature, you know, you get really into it, and those were great films. Thought a lot about those. I think the highlight of the festival for me was when I saw, I think on Sunday at the Wilma, called Accepted, sort of all about the dangers of the higher education system in America and the greed of the inequity of the higher education system in America, as seen through the lens of this prep school in Louisiana that was, you know, sending a lot of poor black kids to Ivy League schools or to Stanford or to everywhere, and sort of there was some sketchy stuff going on there and a lot of shades of gray between, like, well, is this what's necessary to send these kids to put them on an equal level with people who have so many more advantages? So I really liked, you know, following that. I thought the protagonists in that film were really, really good and really engaging. A couple of the kids that they followed that were dealing with that sort of pressure, so I really enjoyed that. But everything I saw was top notch. I mean, I saw Refuge about a white supremacist sort of trying to de-radicalize himself and falling in with the group of refugees in one of the most refugee-heavy towns in America, and sort of learning to become a lot more accepting of other cultures there. Being Michelle, who we did a great interview with, about a deaf woman and a deaf and disabled woman who sort of found herself caught up in the Florida prison system and lived through hell basically for 5 years in Florida prisons with nobody who was able to listen to her and communicate with her. And, you know, just a lot of stuff that makes you think differently about the world. I mean, you spend a couple hours in the Wilma, you watch one of those films, you come out, you sort of look at things differently.
The film that you and I attended together at the Wilma, The Seeds of Vandana Shiva, was incredibly impactful to me. A film I'll never forget, a film that I've already rewatched, and a film I've already told multiple people about. And if you're not familiar with it, you should definitely see it. It's all about sort of the polarization and the cost-benefit analysis and the severe I guess, the wonderful pros and the sometimes horrific cons of the green revolution and industrial farming in the Middle East and India, as well as the mass production of food, the mass production in agriculture, and the way that seeds and the authenticity and organic nature or lack thereof of seeds is in fact one of the most powerful things on planet Earth. It is a very, very interesting movie, and one I would certainly recommend. Nuanez now, ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Colter Nuanez coming to you from the Northwest Motorsports Studio. I had all sorts of stuff to make videos of and tweet about and give you all the multimedia content on SkylineSportsMT.com as well as on our Twitter feed. And it's very fun being both in Bozeman Friday and Saturday for the Big Sky Conference Indoor Track and Field Championships, and then back in Missoula for a pair of rivalry games. But I had some spectacular performances that I was able to watch in Bozeman. I got there about 3 o'clock and had an interview with Tricia Binford, which you heard on this show on Friday. And if you missed it, you can always find it on the Nuanez Now podcast. But then I set up my show right in the, I guess it would be the northeastern corner of Brick Breeden Fieldhouse, and I had a perfect bird's eye view of the women's high jump. And the women's high jump played out exactly while this show was on Friday. It was very, very not only thoughtful, but also just right on the money for Andrew Peterson, the sports information director, controlling track and field there at MSU, to set me up right there. And I got to see in real time while broadcasting this show and talking some hoops and track, Lucy Corbett have an absolutely historic performance. The junior high jumper for Montana State, who's also a Bozeman High product, she high jumped all the way to her third consecutive Big Sky Indoor Championship, and she did it in record-setting fashion. By the time she entered the competition, I think she entered at like 5'9.5". She was one of only 4 jumpers still high jumping. So then she essentially won the competition when she cleared 6 feet, and everybody else was out. Then she kept moving the bar up. First, she tried to break her school record. She did it on her first try. Then she tried to break the stadium record. She did it on her first try. Then she tried to break the meet championship record of 6'3" and 1/4 inch. She did it on her first try. Then she attempted 3 times at 6'3" and 3/4", which would absolutely have been the highest high jump I've ever seen a female make in any level of track if she would have hit it. And she just missed it. But it was super cool, too, because her sister and her sister's boyfriend were standing right next to me while I was doing this. And they had no idea about this show. Now they do. And they were able to watch her and listen to me talk about her while this was all going on. So very cool. Lucy Corbett, the Montana State junior, breaks the all-time Big Sky Indoor Track and Field Championship meet record with a outstanding high jump, and she was named the women's most outstanding performer of the meet. On the men's side, the most outstanding performer was Nico Young. And if you follow Northern Arizona track and field and cross country, it is one of the premier programs in the United States of America. The NAU cross country team is the cream of the crop in NCAA Division I, period. They've won multiple national championships. Flagstaff is the highest campus in the United States, and the Olympic Training Center for distance running for the U.S. Olympic team is in Flagstaff, so it makes sense why they have such a strong running tradition. That said, oftentimes someone from out of nowhere comes out and peaks because you oftentimes see 2, 3, 4, 5 guys from NAU place top 10 in the distance races. And sometimes the guy who's supposed to be like the 5th guy on the cross-country team, he just outlegs everybody. And then you have a guy who wasn't even considered to be a podium favorite win the race. That's exactly what Nico Young did. One of the main events I went to Bozeman to watch was the 3,000 meters because of Duncan Hamilton, the outstanding junior from Montana State's exploits. He entered the meet with the 7th fastest 10K time in the country, and that time, 3K time in the country, and that time stood at 10th when the meet began. The only other people in the top 20 were 3 other Northern Arizona runners, as well as Ben Perrin, who also hails from Montana. He's a Kalispell native who is sort of the 1B to Hamilton's 1A as the anchors of that outstanding MSU men's track distance core on the track team. Well, Nico Young from Northern Arizona, he ran in the first of the 2 heats, which is supposed to be the slower of the 2 heats. He ran the best time. He comes out of nowhere and wins the men's 3K, outlasting 4 of his teammates that were favored ahead of him and the 2 guys from Montana State. So crazy performance by Nico Young, but a good performance by Nico Young. And that helped the Northern Arizona men and women earn championship medals as a team as well. And that's just sort of rinse and repeat. They have a couple top 25 track and field programs, and the NAU men are definitely top 10. They will definitely go and compete on the national scene, no doubt about it. Some of the other best things that I saw over the weekend, Camilla Noe had a great double dip. She was our Mattress Firm Student of the Week a couple years ago when she was at Bozeman High. She then went to the University of Portland, where she was a standout, and then transferred back to her hometown Bobcats. She got silver medals in both the 5K and the 3K, so that's a pretty endurance-heavy slate for her. So to score the 16 points as a team, or for her team, and to get those silver medals, pretty good. Duncan Hamilton, he did not look healthy in the 3K. I don't know what was going on with him, but he ran about 30 seconds slower than his PR entering the 3K, and you wonder if his mile from the day earlier hurt him. He ran a personal best in the mile the day earlier to win silver in that event, but then he ended up getting 4th in the 3,000 meters after he went in as a heavy favorite. So that was definitely, I think, tough for him to swallow, but he'll have another crack at it because he's going to have regional and NCAA championship caliber times by the time this indoor season is all said and done. We also had controversy in the men's hurdles. I'd never seen this before. The starter gun went off, and it didn't start the timer. But the athletes didn't stop running because no one saw another one of them false start. They shot the gun off a couple times, which is indicative initially of a false start. But again, no one false started, and none of the athletes seemed to see anybody false start, so they all finished the race. Derek Olson, outstanding hurdler, who's a Helena native for the Montana State Bobcats, he won that no-time heat. He had the best qualifying time earlier in the weekend as well. So he had won basically the prelims, and he had won the finals in the 60-meter hurdles. But it was a no time. So then they decided they're going to reschedule the race. They were going to rerun it. I've never seen this before. I was actually talking to some of the officials at the track meet, and they said it's not as uncommon as you like to believe, but it is uncommon at a championship meet like this. So, unfortunately, a lot of the guys that ran in the 60-meter hurdles, they also ran in the men's 60 open. They also ran in the 200 and or 400. And so there was a lot of races to get through. Olson himself, I think he ran in the 60, and I think he might have ran in the 200. But regardless, he at least ran in the 60. But there was all sorts of weird things that happened during this, which then resulted in a rerun. And Olson, who won, ends up getting 8th, and he was very despondent afterwards. But Jaden Green, who got nowhere close to the podium, a University of Montana junior, he got 8th, I think, in the first one. I don't even know if he actually finished the first one. And then he comes back around and earns bronze in the final. The Montana indoor track team, not a lot of qualifiers. Jansen Ziola from the women, and then Brett Yankee and Jaden Green from the men, the only real true point scorers from over the weekend. Grizz Track trying to get their footing without an indoor facility right now. They had a couple of their top athletes, including Cade Johnstone, the outstanding 400-meter runner, out. But Jaden Green, he did get on the podium and scored a few points for the Montana men's track team. Here's his thoughts just on the controversy and how he was able to rebound, stay mentally locked in, and get back on track. This is part of our River City Runners, presented by Zootown Sports Cars. Jaden Green from the UM track team here on Nuanez Now. Take me through in between the races, because the first one was crazy. I've never seen that happen. So that must be so hard though to like refocus.
Yeah, it was a long day. It was a lot of getting ready and then having to calm down and then getting ready again and then having to calm down. So it was just a roller coaster of emotions trying to get through it. But I'm disappointed it ended the way it did, but I'm also proud of myself for getting through the day because it was a long day.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so what's your warm-up process like? How long do you usually warm up for before a race like that?
Usually I start getting ready like an hour before a race, so having an hour to warm up and then getting a race that stops and then getting 30 minutes and then pushing it back further.
And then they push it back, right.
It's just a whole lot of getting ready and then trying to cool down and then getting ready and trying to cool down. So, yeah, my body was in a whirlwind today.
Do you feel like it affected the second race, or what did you think of the times?
You know, I hit that last hurdle pretty hard, but up until that point, I was feeling really good. You know, everybody was running pretty fast today. I wish we could have seen the times of that first race, because I do think it was a little faster, but I'm proud of everybody coming out and doing what they did today, because there was some pretty good times, especially for what we went through.
Where did you finish in the first one?
I didn't finish the first one.
So that's a little redemption then for you too, right?
So it's not every day you get a second chance, so I am happy. It went better than the first time, but not what we have hoped, but come back and getting it outdoor.
I mean, get on the podium.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy about it. It's my first time being on the podium, so I can be nothing but grateful for that. I mean, I'm really proud of myself. It's been a long season and even longer day, so I'm glad I ended up where I was.
So you go, Jaden Green, a junior for the University of Montana track team, third place in the men's 60-meter hurdles to score points for the Grizzlies. It's Nuanez now. This is our River City Runners, where a couple times a month we highlight some of the best running athletes, a lot of times distance, but we're doing all sorts of different runners here today. It's presented by Zootown Sports Cards. Zootown Sports Cards is a great place here in Missoula. They've been around for a couple years now. They're starting to really get a reputation as an awesome spot, whether you're a super hardcore collector or you just want your kids into it. You want a healthy habit for yourself, a healthy hobby, I should say. It can become a habit. It became a habit for me buying baseball cards, that's for sure. But I'll tell you this. It's one of the main reasons why I got this job, because I was so obsessed with baseball cards when I was a kid. But Zootown Sports Cards, they also have one of their fun memorabilia shows coming up. They are hosting at the Doubletree Hotel on April 2nd. There'll be more than 40 vendors from around the state and region. The show lasts from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and admission is free. JSA authentication, which will authenticate your autographs and things like that, they'll be on site as well. So come check out the hottest in the memorabilia industry at the Missoula Sports Cards and Collectibles Show at the Doubletree. That's April 2nd from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. One of my favorite parts about track and field is just the pure, unadulterated joy of victory. And so often, the result in sports has so many different things that influence it, whether it's timeouts or substitution patterns or officials or all these different things that play into sports like basketball and football. In track, you either run fast or you don't. You either win or you lose. But the look on Elena Carter's face when she hit the finish line and knew that she had tied the school record and knew that she was a gold medalist for the first time in the hurdles was awesome. And it was very fun catching up with her and just seeing and sharing some of that joy. So here's Elena Carter. She's a Helena Capital product, a junior for the Montana State women's track team, and her time of 8.45 seconds in the 60-meter hurdles tied a Montana State school record and earned her a gold medal. Elena Carter here on Nuanez Now.
I saw you were clapping your hands there at the finish.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind when you won that race?
I was just really excited. I haven't been feeling the best the past couple days, so I was a little bit worried, but I just knew that if I ran a clean race, which kind of did, and I would just be able to kind of get my way through it is what I thought about. So I was just really excited when I finally did it, I guess.
Yesterday's race, did it give you some confidence too? Because you ran really well yesterday too.
A little bit. I hit a few hurdles in that race, so I was a little bit nervous, but I was still excited about the time. Better than I thought it would.
Well, I know we talked in Ogden. So what did you do from then till now to continue to improve and push the envelope here?
Sprint training for sure. Just a lot of sprints, a lot of like repetitive workouts and speed workouts and hurdle training and just like all that, trying to get faster between the hurdles and over the hurdles. So I think that helped a ton. Yeah.
And I know you've been hovering right around that school record, obviously, that you own now. You got 8:45 again today. What did you think of that?
I was excited. I'm just glad that I consistently ran the same time and it wasn't up and down all season. I was just really excited that I was consistent this whole year, basically.
Well, I know you got your family here too, so you like running well in front of your parents and stuff?
Yeah, it's the best. My dad gets so excited. I can hear him yelling when I'm in the blocks. I'm like, okay, be quiet. But it's super fun. I love when they're all here. Yeah.
Big Sky champion. How's that sound?
Pretty good. I'm excited for sure.
There you go, Elena Carter, Helena Capital product and a Montana State junior, the champion in the women's 60-meter hurdles at the Big Sky Indoor Track and Field Championships in Bozeman over the weekend. River City Runners presented by Zootown Sports Cards. Also, Worth noting that Elena Carter is the granddaughter of Lon Carter and the daughter of Lee Carter. Both of those guys played football at MSU, and both of them have been very influential in the Helena Capital community as coaches and have mentored a lot of great players that have come through the halls of Helena Capital. So Elena Carter, a legacy Bobcat as well. The highlight of this meet, beyond anything that I just described, was by one of the great long hurdlers in the United States, except there is no long hurdles race during indoor track and field. There's only the short hurdles race. So Drake Schneider has often used the indoor season as a way to just train and get better in hopes of chasing the outdoor national championship meet bid in the 400-meter hurdles. Well, Schneider messed around over the weekend and went ahead and just won the 400 meters. Even though he's not a traditional 400-meter runner, he also went out and got second in the 200 meters, even though he's not really a true sprinter. He's more of a long hurdler. And then the highlight of the entire thing, first of all, his 400 meters where he sprinted down the stretch and caught the guy in front of him to win going away was the highlight until I left. I left right after the men's 3K, and I missed the mile relay, the 4x400 meter relay, which caps every championship track meet. Well, I missed the race of the year. In the 4x400, Schneider ran one of the great anchor legs you'll ever see. You can find it online or on Twitter. I suggest you watching it. The entire arena is screaming and yelling and chanting, and Schneider blows the doors off of this thing. He started in last, probably trailing by 13 or 14 meters, and outlegs both of the Southern Utah and Northern Arizona teams to take the 4x400 and get the Bobcats second place on the men's side. We didn't get a chance to talk about that race with Drake Schneider, but I did catch up with him before I left. Montana State outstanding hurdler and 400-meter runner, a guy who's joined us on this show 3 times already, and back again because he's got a couple more gold medals hanging around his neck. Last interview for River City Runners, Drake Schneider from Montana State.
So first of all, take us through the stretch run of that 400. Yeah, I mean, you had to sprint all the way down to stretch to get it. So how'd you track him down?
2 years ago, that exact same thing happened to me in reverse. I got out, took the cut, and and you pay the price a little bit for taking the cut sometimes. And I just trusted that my legs were going to be there because yesterday I felt like I had the legs in the last 100 meters, and they showed up today and carry me across the finish line.
Is it easier to track somebody down or to hold them off when they're chasing you down?
I think it depends on how fast we get out.
Right.
But for me, it's always fun chasing somebody, especially in the open four. It doesn't happen quite as often, so I usually get out pretty fast. But today, Barrera took it out, and so I had the chance to chase somebody down in the open four.
When you're going through the race, I mean, what did you think of just the overall pace? Did you like how it started?
Yeah, I did. We were out a little bit faster than yesterday. But I was just as relaxed as I was yesterday, so I was okay with him taking the cut because he took it out so fast.
What's the mental readjustment like when you go from the 400 to the 200, especially when it's like less than an hour apart? How do you get yourself back focused?
That's where Jay Turner's training comes in. We do a lot of stuff on short rest, so you don't really think about it. I go and hit the air boots, and I come out here and do a super miniature warm-up and just trust that the legs are going to be there.
I know you still got the 4x4, but pair of medals today. What does it mean to you to medal at Big Skies?
It means a lot, and it means a lot to get my first gold indoors by myself, honestly. I'm a 400 hurdler, so these open events aren't necessarily my events. So it's vindicating to come out here and kind of steal a medal in an event that I don't actually run all year round. So it was rewarding for sure.
How much does that help, just running this indoor 400 to help you with your 400-meter hurdles outdoor?
It helps quite a bit mentally, I think. If you can beat everybody without the hurdles out there. Right. I'm a pretty smooth 400 hurdler, so once the hurdles get added, it's even more to my advantage. So hopefully that doesn't jinx myself. But it's nice. It's nice to know that without the hurdles, I can compete with even the best guys in the Big Sky. So once we get out there and get those hurdles out there, we'll hopefully put down some pretty good times this year.
What hurts more, the end 400 hurdles or the end of a 400 meters?
It depends on how hot it is outside.
Texas A&M and you're having to cruise down there.
Yeah, right. I mean, in Ogden, I was worried for you guys' health. It was so hot down there.
It was hot. To answer your question, probably the 400 hurdles.
There you go, Drake Schneider. A glutton for punishment running the 400 meters indoor and the 400-meter hurdles outdoor, but one of the outstanding runners in the entire Western region, honestly. Yeah, he had a top 10 time in the 400 hurdles last year, and now Big Sky indoor champion in the 400 meters and the anchor leg on Montana State's 4x400 meter relay championship team. River City Runners presented by Zootown Sports Cards. Remember, the Doubletree Inn hosting the Missoula Memorabilia and Collectibles show hosted by Zootown Sports Cards, April 2nd, 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. So go check that out if you need something fun to do on that Saturday. How about what's going on around the rest of the Big Sky? We got 4 teams that have clinched byes on both the men's and women's side, but still jockeying for positioning, jockeying in the bracket, jockeying for that last bye. We'll take you through the standings on both sides. Keep it right here, ESPN Radio.
Do you like audiobooks? Join Summit Independent Living's Audio Book Club to read fun and interesting books and enjoy live online discussions. Summit is offering free online activities promoting fun and friendship for those living with paralysis and other disabilities, their families, and caregivers who may experience isolation or loneliness due to COVID-19.
To learn more, find Summit Independent Living on Facebook. Go to summitilc.org or call 406-728-1630. Activities funded by the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation.
Have you ever heard the blues blended with classical music? Well, you're in for a treat if you attend the Missoula Symphony's next concert, March 5th and 6th at the Denison Theater. The Missoula Symphony invites you to join us for Our American Voices, featuring William Grant Still's Afro-American Symphony, Samuel Barber's lush violin concerto, performed by our fantastic guest artist, Yisong Sophie Lee, and Strum by living composer Jesse Montgomery. Don't miss Missoula Symphony perform Our American Voices. Visit MissoulaSymphony.org.
Brought to you by The Good Food Store.
Missoula Bone & Joint has been providing quality orthopedic care for over 60 years. We offer a one-stop option on Mullen Road, which includes an orthopedic urgent care walk-in clinic, a state-of-the-art outpatient surgery center, MRI, digital x-ray, and physical therapy services. Our experienced team of orthopedic surgeons have an excellent reputation for providing successful outcomes and compassionate care. Missoula Bone & Joint, quality care from people who care.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Grizzly Hackle is happy to host its 18th annual Customer Appreciation Days. Swing by the store between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. to check out a gigantic store-wide sale, including 25% off almost everything at Grizzly Hackle. The shop will also have huge giveaways each day with some of your favorite brands, including Sims, Patagonia, Orvis, Winston Rods, Scott Rods, Yeti, Hardy, and Montana Fly. Located in the heart of downtown Missoula on Front Street, swing by Grizzly Hackle this weekend to celebrate the best customers in the world. You.
Like most backseat drivers, I'm all about safety. Dad, pothole.
Got it.
So Les Schwab Tires makes my job easy. With surfaces like brakes, steering, and alignment. Those cheap tire centers just throw on tires, and that's it. Now, I'm not telling people how to do their job. Linker. I'm just glad Les Schwab takes safety as seriously as me.
Help keep drivers and backseat drivers safe with Les Schwab Tires. Celebrating 70 years of doing the right thing.
It's in Park, right?
Buying or selling a home can be an intimidating task. Brent Wahlberg and the Wahlberg team of Windermere Real Estate are here to make you feel comfortable no matter where you're at in the process. The official realtors of Grizzly Athletics have more than 4 decades of experience in Western Montana. Brent and his team can not only find you your perfect home or buyer, but they can also teach you about the great city of Missoula and its tradition-laden sports teams. The Wahlberg team works as a family to help fulfill your real estate needs all over Western Montana. If you need help with residential, land, investment, or commercial, give Brent Wahlberg and the Wahlberg team a call today.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
The mystique of Missoula returned with the Bobcats in town over the weekend. Hello, I am Colter Nuanez. For most of the last generation, the Montana Grizzlies held one of the best home court and home field advantages in all of college sports. The Big Sky Conference member with the most success as of late in the Garden City has been the Montana State Bobcats. MSU won at Washington Grizzlies Stadium in football 4 times since 2010 before Montana licked the Bobcats on the gridiron in Missoula this past season. And the Montana State women have won at Dahlberg Arena 4 times in the last 5 trips before Saturday. But the Montana men's basketball team, despite its recent ups and downs, has never wavered when it comes to protecting home court against the rival Bobcats. And that continued Monday afternoon. Montana drilled 11 three-pointers and held the Bobcats to just 1 triple, forcing 15 MSU turnovers on the way to an 80-74 victory over first-place Montana State in front of 5,285. The win denied the Bobcats a share of the Big Sky title. Montana has now defeated Montana State 11 consecutive games in Missoula over the last 12 years. Travis DeCuire now 14-2 against the Bobcats
in his 8 years at the helm for his alma mater.
In the women's game, the Lady Grizz rode the momentum of a raucous crowd, earning a 71-57 senior night victory to snap a 7-game losing streak to the rival. The win was Montana's first in Missoula over Montana State since February of 2018. This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is brought to you by Selway Armory. What's up, Missoula? What's up, Montana? Hope you're having an outstanding start to your week. This is Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. I heard a little Tom Martello, a little Chris Cornell. I reverted to my old brain. I said, what's up, Missoula? Because that's what Ryan Tutel used to always say. An Audio Slave is definitely a Ryan Tutel band. He's the one that got me all the way into these guys. So hope you're doing good, Gus, if you're listening. Well, we are statewide on SWX Montana Television. Appreciate SWX for being a part of it. You can always stream the show or find our show podcast as well on our station website, 1029ESPN.com. Let's dive into Around the Big Sky in both men's and women's hoops. Take a look at the standings as we enter the final week of the regular season. On the men's side, we have the 5 teams that have first-round byes secured. Montana State, Southern Utah, Weber State, Northern Colorado, and Montana. Those are the top 5 seeds, but we don't know which order they will be in. All 5 of those teams guaranteed byes, but who's going to play who, when? We know where. It's in Boise, Idaho at Idaho Central Arena, but who's going to play and when are they going to play? The Bobcats have a huge game tomorrow night against Southern Utah coming off of their Cat Grizz loss. MSU won in Cedar City earlier this year. Cats sit at 13-4. In league play. One game ahead of the 12-5 Thunderbirds. Weber State is 13-6, so they just have the one game left. So they are out of the mix for the 1 seed. If Montana State beats Southern Utah, they'll ensure at least a share of the conference title. But they'll still have 2 games left against Sacramento State and Northern Colorado. Northern Colorado is still in the mix for the title, even though they're a game behind Weber in the win column because Weber only has 1 game left, whereas Northern Colorado has 2 games left, including playing the Montana schools. And then Montana, they have Sac State and Northern Colorado as well. So a packed slate coming down the stretch. Right now, Eastern Washington and Portland State are tied for 6th. Sac State, don't look now. They were the bottom feeder in the conference, period, for the duration of this league season. And now they've won 3 in a row. And they sit at a 3-way tie right now for that 8th spot with Northern Arizona and Idaho. Though all 3 of those teams are 5-13. Then you have Idaho State pulling up the rear at 5-14. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, who's going to play who. But we do know this. MSU, Southern Utah, Weber State, Northern Colorado, and Montana, they all have first-round byes on the men's side of the tournament. On the women's side, and the women's league has been getting all wacky. The Lady Grizz beating Montana State was a bit of an upset. The Lady Grizz were favored in the game via Vegas, which is a testament to Dahlberg Arena more than anything else because the Cats came in with a better conference record and having defeated Montana earlier this season and, of course, 7 times in a row. But over the weekend, Idaho kept up their winning ways. They had a sweep of Sacramento State and Northern Colorado, so the Vandals are surging right now. Idaho State got pushed all the way down to the wire by Portland State, but they emerged against the winless Vikings, 67-64. Sac State, they got back on track as well with a 67-58 win over Eastern Washington. NAU drilled Weber 89-77. Then, of course, the 71-57 victory for the Lady Grizz over Montana State. Portland State, Idaho State plays tonight. The Big Sky schedule has the game replicated twice, so I'm not sure if it starts at 6 or 7, but it will start tonight. And then the women's games this week are Wednesday and Friday instead of Thursday, Saturday like usual because the women's tournament does start a day earlier, so everybody's got to get to Boise. So Montana, they're on the road. They play at Northern Colorado and then at Sac State, and then MSU, same thing except for they're at Sac State Wednesday and at Northern Colorado on Friday. Here's how the women's standings look. Idaho State has sewed up at least a share of the conference title, but they still have a game against Southern Utah to win that thing outright. Southern Utah, though, could help Montana State share the conference title as well if they were to beat Idaho State and if MSU was to sweep. And so here's where we are with the standings. Idaho State is 15-4 in league play with just that one game against Southern Utah remaining. MSU is second at 13-5. Southern Utah sits in third at 12-6. Montana sits in fourth at 11-7. And Sac State and Northern Arizona are tied for fifth at 10-8. So not nearly as much clarity in terms of who's getting buys. Idaho potentially still in the mix for a bye as well with a 9-8 conference mark. So that means the only schools that aren't in the mix for a first-round bye are Northern Colorado, Eastern Washington, Weber State, and Portland State. So the games coming up this weekend, including that Friday game with Montana at Sac State, that could be for a seed. That could certainly be for a seed. So how did Lady Grizz harness the momentum of that rivalry game victory and take that thing on the road? I think it would take a pretty epic collapse for Idaho State. Well, Idaho State's got one of the seeds. They're the only one that's for sure going to get one of the seeds. It would take a pretty big collapse, though, for MSU, Southern Utah, to not get a seed. But anybody's ball game when it comes to Montana, Sac State, and Northern Arizona. It's another prove-it moment for the Lady Grizz for me. They proved it to me on Saturday. They rolled the momentum of a home crowd. They beat their rival. They vanquished the demons of the MSU women's team that has haunted them for the last handful of years. But then can they harness something big, something exciting, and get better from it? Use it as a launching point instead of maybe letting it be a distraction. That's been an issue for this program and this team. And Sac State, no slouch. They've been up and down. The consistency has been a little shaky, but they have tremendous talent, including Isabel Natabo, who might be the most physically formidable player, in the Big Sky Conference in women's basketball. So there you go. That's a look around the Big Sky in both men's and women's hoops. You want to go to the Big Sky Tournament? We got a pair of passes. It's next week in Boise, stem to stern. All you have to do is tweet at us at Skyline Sports MT or at 1029 ESPN or at Krista Redpath, or you can text us here on the station line, 888-1029. That's 888-1029. Just text us Big Sky in Boise, and we'll be compiling all of those text messages and Twitter messages you've sent along over the last month or so, and we'll be doing a drawing later on this week, so look forward to that. Looking forward to having a couple of you join us at the Big Sky Tournament next week in Boise, Idaho. What's going on for the rest of the week? We'll get you all set up. Keep it right here. It's Nuanez now, ESPN Radio.
Ready to step up your hair game, but just not quite sure where to go? Well, look no further than Compass Barbershop, a modern barbershop for everyone, where they can help you find a style that's right for you. They offer precision scissor cuts and fades in a unique and inclusive atmosphere. Compass Barbershop has it all, including convenient online booking at compassbarber.com, or you can just stop by any day of the week. You can also check out Compass Barbershop on Facebook or Instagram. Find your way to Compass Barbershop, downtown on the Hip Strip, at the corner of modern and retro.
Whether you're in the restaurant business or you just want to host any big event, J&V Restaurant Supply can make sure you have everything you need. J&V Restaurant Supply is your home for everything kitchen. Whether you're a bear or a bobcat, an eagle or a Scotty, J&V Restaurant has everything you might need. They have locations in Bozeman, Billings, and Great Falls. If you can't make it in, J&V also has a great website, jvrestaurant.com. Get everything you need for your next event at J&V, your restaurant specialists.
Mount Jumbo, Rock Creek, the Kim Williams Trail, the Alberton Gorge, Mount Dean Stone, family-owned agricultural lands across western Montana. This year, Five Valleys Land Trust is celebrating 50 years of protecting and stewarding the wildlife habitat, trails, and open lands you love. Join us in our next half-century of conserving western Montana. Learn more, volunteer, and give at fvlt.org.
This message is brought to you by Rob Fleming and Man Mortgage, 704 West Sussex, Missoula.
Back by popular demand, Zootown Sports Cards presents the Missoula Sports Card and Collectible Show. Check out exceptionally rare and coveted cards and goods from more than 40 vendors from around the state and region. It's all going down at the Doubletree Hotel Saturday, April 2nd, 10 till 5. Admission for attendees is free. JSA authentication will be on site, so come check out the hottest in the memorabilia industry at the Missoula Sports Card and Collectible Show at the Doubletree, April 2nd, presented by Zootown Sports Cards of Missoula.
The pageantry, the tradition, the competition, the communal aspect. It's what we love about sports. But there's also a stark reality. Sports and money go hand in hand. At Nuanez Now, every other Tuesday, we are proud to present a business angle with Justin Angle, a segment about the overlay of business and sports.
I think as far as products ever created, NFL football is perhaps one of the best products ever created. On par with the iPhones. And its ability to kind of transcend every other competitor in the category. The scarcity of games, the fact that they own Sundays, and then they own that place on the calendar. It's sacred. It's become the religion of sports fans and the religion of the country in many ways.
Tune in every other Tuesday during the 5 o'clock hour to Nuanez Now to hear Justin Angle, a University of Montana business professor, talk with me, Colter Nuanez, about all of the ins and outs of sports and business. A Business Angle is proudly presented by Blackfoot Communications.
1, 2, 3. Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
What's up, Montana? What's going on? Hope you have an outstanding Monday. Colter Nuanez coming to you from the Northwest Motorsports Studio. Thanks so much for hanging out with us to get your week started. Missed anything in the show today? We had the Montana Basketball Hour, talking all things Cat Grizz, women's and men's basketball. The University of Montana sweeps Montana State this weekend in Missoula. We also talked all the way around the Big Sky in men's and women's hoops, and talked about the Big Sky Conference Indoor Track and Field Championships. You can find all of that on the Nuanez Now podcast, which is proudly presented by Sportsbet Montana and by the Advocates. All sorts of fun guests again for you this week. Tomorrow, we'll roll on with Riley Corcoran, the voice of the Grizz. We also have Courtney from Camp Make a Dream coming in here to tell you about their new Rat Pod and the way that you can get involved to help make some kids' dreams come true. We'll also have our Treasure State Stars highlighting some of the best individual performances from around the state of Montana from this last week. And going to catch up with our good friend Justin Angle for the latest edition of A Business Angle, the overlay between business and sports. Other guests throughout the week include our good friend, our inaugural and primary producer and our head engineer here at Missoula Broadcasting Company, Tommy Evans, the guy who's been in and out on this show since the duration and beginning of it. Can't wait to have him back on the mic. We'll kick that one off Wednesday to put a cap on our 10th anniversary celebration here at ESPN Missoula. February was our 10th anniversary month here at ESPN Missoula. Tommy was out sick the last couple of weeks, so he'll be back in. We'll do it on March 2nd to put a cap on that anniversary celebration. Of course, we'll hear from some familiar subjects like Alex Esselman from SWX Montana Television, Brooks Nuanez from Skyline Sports, and Krista Redpath, our women's basketball Big Sky Conference insider. We're also going to hear from Steve Smiley, the head coach of the Northern Colorado Bears, efforting Mark Campbell, the head coach of the Sacramento State women's basketball team. Also have a sit-down with Travis DeCure, University of Montana men's basketball coach. He'll be our Grizz Star of the Week, but we'll also have an in-depth interview with him for a profile I'm writing about him leading up to the Big Sky tournament in Boise as part of our Big Sky Conference tournament blowout in association with the Big Sky. So look forward to sitting down with Coach DeCure. Also going to catch up with Danny Sprinkle, Montana State men's basketball coach. And then on Friday, we'll have our main man, Rajeem Seabrook, back in the studio as well. The series of profiles I'm doing, I guess they're feature stories. A couple profiles, a couple not. Here's the docket. You can look forward to seeing these on both skylinesportsmt.com as well as BigSkyConf.com, and probably some athletic department websites across the league as well. I'm doing a story from the women's tournament about the 3 most veteran coaches in the league, including Montana State women's coach Tricia Binford, who's been at MSU for 17 seasons, along with 14th-year Idaho head coach and 14th-year Idaho State head coach John Newley and Seton Sobolewski, respectively. And sort of the dichotomy with the fact that there's 5 new coaches in the league. Brian Holsinger at Montana, Mark Campbell at Sacramento State, Kristen Matteo at Northern Colorado, Jody Gleason at Eastern Washington, and Chelsea Gregg at Portland State. So we'll have a story kind of about the overlay of those two dynamics. Also on the men's side, some of the most impactful players in the league are transfers. So as much as there's been a scrutiny and a negative connotation pinned to the transfer portal, some of the best and most recognizable and impactful players on both the men's and women's side are transfers, are student athletes to take advantage of this one-time transfer rule. So we'll have a story about that. We'll also have a story about Idaho State and their pursuit of a second consecutive Big Sky Conference championship. Got a feature about Southern Utah's last ride through the Big Sky and some of the best memories of SUU's time in the league. Have a story about the 3 Brits from the Montana State men's team. Jabril Bello, Amin Adamu, and Great Asabor, along with Chris Haslam, the associate head coach there at MSU. Those guys have been a key to MSU's success so far this year. We're going to have a profile on Darian White, the outstanding point guard for the Bobcats, and, of course, that profile on Travis DeKeer, the 8th-year head men's basketball coach for the University of Montana. So I got a lot of work to get done. I haven't never procrastinated on a project like this much in my whole life, but the good news is I've gotten a lot of these interviews done already. We just got to sort of put them all together. So should be fun, and hopefully you will all check all of that out. Hopefully you are having a great start to your weekend month. Can't believe it's March already. We will also be having our tournament takeover, where we'll be in Boise stem to stern all next week, as well as making a trip to one of the NCAA tournament sites to be determined. And we're also going to give you some details later on this week about the Bracket Challenge presented by Paradise Falls. We will have a Bracket Challenge on ESPN. The national site will host it, and we'll take entries from you. And I'm not going to fully tease out the prizes yet because we're going to spend the next 5 days getting said prizes. But I promise you, it'll be good. And my goal is to get you the first place winner a grand prize. That's right, a prize that's worth $1,000. So we'll see what we can put together, but very much looking forward to that. We'll be back at tomorrow at 4 p.m. Get things kicked off with Riley Corcoran, the voice of the Grizz. In the meantime, have a great Monday evening. Enjoy yourself tonight, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. This is Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio.
The glory of building a business comes from leaving a legacy to ensure your business continues thriving into the future. Have you asked yourself lately, what is your plan? Forming a personalized business succession plan is essential to know the passion you put into your business will carry on. Nick Tabor at Westpac Wealth is here to help you navigate all your business succession and retirement planning needs. Give Nick a call at 728-6699 and keep the spirit of possibility vibrant while making your future more tax efficient with a personalized business succession and retirement plan for you.
Which would you rather be? An armchair quarterback or an on the edge of your cushy leather seat chair quarterback? Turf Club Sportsbook is now open at Northern Quest with the most modern, luxurious, and exciting sports wagering experience around. So you can bet,